To college football or not to college football? That is the question. Time to sideline the agenda. Welcome to Sideline the Agenda, sports podcasting done right. My name is Scott. With me is Kevin and Chris. Hatred for the cheating Astros reaches a boiling point, and we've got fair or foul coming up. But first, will there be college football in 2020? Power 5 conference commissioners held a previously unplanned meeting Sunday today to discuss just that. In the wake of the Mid-American Conference being the first FBS conference to cancel its fall season, citing a lack of progress fighting the coronavirus, and player demands in the Pac-12 as well as the Big Ten voicing concerns for players' health and safety, the Big Ten president was reportedly the impetus for the meeting as the league appears ready to pull the plug on its fall sports season and wanted to gauge whether the ACC, Big 12, Pac-12, and SEC would do the same. It's not fair what we're doing to our coaches and student athletes, stated a longtime Power 5 athletic director. The sooner we can come to a finality, the better. It seems inevitable that the fall 2020 collegiate sports schedule will be completely canceled in the coming days, despite Clemson QB Trevor Lawrence voicing his opinion via Twitter, stating, "I don't know about y'all, but we want to play." So I'm going to toss it to you, Chris. Do you think there will be football in the fall, college football?
Yeah, I mean, this is something we talked about a few episodes back, that it's looking like if it's not pro, it's not going to happen. A lot of moving parts here, a lot of convoluted stories. Similar to the NFL, it doesn't seem like these players feel like they're going to be protected very well because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of organization with the parameters that they're going to have in place to keep these people safe from a virus standpoint. Something that we've kind of mentioned before that may not be totally easy to see for most people, but one of the things we talked about before is the whole Apple and Amazon potentially being the future of where sports will be exclusively. One of the things that's going on right now in college football is there's a difference between the Power 5 conferences, the SEC, the ACC, the Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, their football teams and those sports compared to the rest of pretty much all of NCAA sports. So the difference being that those conferences, the schools, due to a Supreme Court decision back in 1984, so that allowed the schools to own the football revenue rights, the television rights, which of course led to all kinds of marketing and media revenue. So the schools themselves can pretty much kind of determine what they want to do with those programs, and they don't necessarily have to go along with what the NCAA says. Now, they're kind of playing the game of dominoes right now with these conferences. As one goes down, then maybe the rest of them all will. They don't really want to have a situation where the NCAA says, hey, we're going to stop all fall sports. And then they have those Power 5 conferences with their football teams say, no, forget you guys. We're going to still play because we have the rights. We have deals with ESPN to where we can still hold games and we can still determine a playoff and a champion, national champion, and we can still make money off of that. I mean, ultimately, everything's come back to money. But the reason I brought up the Amazon and Apple thing is ESPN is Disney. I'm going to throw Disney into that mix as well, to where if they really decided that, hey, no sports are being played right now, but we want to have these NCAA Big 5 conference teams because there's too much revenue that's going to be lost. If we really want to have them play some regular season and then make a playoff, and then we can make all kinds of money off that, and we can even get further away from the NCAA to where those football conferences are damn near pro to where they're exclusively with Disney or ESPN or Apple or Amazon, whoever wants to pick them up. I think it's something that hasn't been mentioned yet. Who knows? This could be all leading towards that direction, but the way it looks right now, it looks like nothing's going to happen. There's going to be no sports. They're going to shut it down and maybe try to bring it back in the spring. But the NCAA has lost all kinds of money because the first thing they had to do when this shutdown first happened was they had to shut down the NCAA tournament for basketball. And that's where they make most all their money. They don't make a whole lot of money with, you would think they did, but they don't make a whole lot of money from the football because the schools have the rights to that. They get all the revenue from that. So you're going to see these big Power 5 conferences, those big schools, get even more money, get even more power, get even more recruiting material, to where now, I mean, if it wasn't evident already that the huge difference from D1 to D2 and D3, and not only just D1 to D2, but from those big mega schools like, you know, the Alabamas, most all those SEC teams, the Clemsons of the world, the USCs, where they seem to always have all the cream of the crop throughout the rest of the country, and a lot of these other smaller schools have trouble competing. Now, if you throw into the mix where, hey, NCAA isn't going to let you guys play, but Disney comes with big money saying, you guys can play under our umbrella. You can play under ESPN. We can have those exclusive rights. We can put those games on. We can hold a playoff. We can hold a national championship. Your schools can still get that money. You don't have to lose out on all those tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on the school. It's something that we've brought up here a few times. You know, you've heard it here first that we said there's not going to be college football this year. But that's definitely a wrench could be thrown into this, to where you could get these big media companies to say, hey, the NCAA isn't going to go with you, but we're willing to. So just wanted to throw that out there, food for thought for all the college fans out there, that maybe if one of these big companies step in, you know, there's a big opportunity there for them.
So I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. You're suggesting that there's a possibility that these 5 conferences could create their own team, or expand upon that a little more if you don't mind. It's just for my clarity.
Yeah. So the schools, say Alabama, for example, they're within the NCAA, but the school has the rights to their football team. They get all the revenue off of that football team. They can put on their own games with deals with ESPN. They can put on their own national championship, their own playoffs outside of the NCAA. Right. So they're going to be missing all kinds of money if they actually do shut down. And I think when it comes time to where they're looking at those budget books and they're saying, hey, we're going to lose all this money, let's maybe think about playing some games. It may not necessarily be in the fall. I might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but they're probably going to try and bring it back in the spring. But I mean, so is everyone. So why not be the only one?
Create their own exhibition matches against whoever they choose, big ticket items, maybe teams they don't necessarily play often, and see if they could make some money that way. Wow,
absolutely, because there's big money, and these schools, it's going to have a trickle down effect across the entire university, because they get a ton of money through their football program, all the TV deals, the media deals, the bowl games, the attendance. That's funding not just the football. That's funding a whole lot of that university and a lot of the other sports programs. So you take that money away, it's going to trickle down to every other sport, a whole lot of different departments within that university itself. So there's going to be a lot of divisions that are saying, hey, we need that revenue. And if you've got a big company like Disney coming saying, hey, we got big money with ESPN, we would be more than happy to host all of your games. We'd be more than happy to fund a playoff. You know, I haven't seen anyone mention it yet, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, like you said, very, very interesting food for thought. So, Kevin, how about you? What do you think? Is there going to be a college football this fall?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell, but I'm going to say bye-bye 2020 college football. See you later. They already postponed and canceled the Rose Parade, which means any smart person can put 2 and 2 together. The Rose Bowl is now gone. The Rose Bowl. Guys, the Rose Bowl. Top bowl game, if not the best bowl game to look forward to all year long.
The granddaddy of them all.
Yes, the granddaddy of them all. The the
It's true, right? They announced that fairly early too, and it just seemed like it's I don't know. It seems like we've been pushing off the inevitable. Like really, I don't know. From my perspective, it almost feels like there was never going to be a college football season. I mean, I was saying how we tweeted back a long time ago that there was going to be no college football this season. It just seems like everybody's known it, but sitting here waiting for the decision to actually be officially made is definitely awkward. And then like what Kevin's talking about with just something as storied as the Rose Bowl. I mean, what about all the other bowls that happen? Like, what's the holiday season going to look like? The bowl season, with no college football.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I'm talking about here. There's a lot of money that's going to be lost. That's going to affect a lot of different organizations, a lot of different people. And I mean, kind of a side issue, but just to piggyback on the whole cluster of this thing. I mean, just like the LSU player with the helmet on, testing it out, saying that he can't even breathe in that thing. I mean, they've got so many issues they've got to iron out to make this even workable right now. So it's no surprise that they're most likely going to shut it down. But again, I'm just throwing it out there. Don't be surprised if you see Disney or one of these big companies come sweeping in saying, hey, we can find a way to get you guys some revenue. We can host some games.
That's right. I mean, here's actually the clip of what Chris is referring to.
I can't fucking breathe out of this thing. Yes, sir.
He says it's like breathing in a Ziploc bag, and he can't expletive breathe in that thing. What do you think of that, Kevin, in regards to the measures that they've been doing in college football, trying to create and promote player safety? I mean, was this just kind of a fool's errand? Was this something that was never going to really happen from the get-go?
Well, we're seeing complications with NFL. So what makes us think that, the NCAA is going to have their shoes on straight? We've seen Watt tweet the other day that, the mask is kind of silly. And now we're seeing the NCAA, the players walking around, and not only that, guys, but they're going to have to get tested as well multiple times a week, if not every day. They're going to be in and out of classes of the schools that are still going to be open. There's going to be major complications that we haven't seen yet that they're going to have to all go through, and it will be a big juggle fest. Everyone will be juggling too many things at one time, and we're sitting here supposed to expect a new season, a brand new season that's going to have no complications. I highly doubt all this. What Chris is alluding to is prestigious schools that can maybe carry on, that have the money to still back a season. If ESPN or Disney wants to still have teams come out and play games, I mean, they're looking at the cream of the crops, right? They're looking at the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Floridas, the USCs, and so we might just be seeing a handful of schools come out and play. The MAC already went down. The conference already went out. I'm predicting that the Pac-12 is going to soon follow, and then the Big 12 and so on. And who knows what will happen.
It seemed like
there.
the Big 12 was almost like the president of the Big 12 was like, well, we really want to. We want to cancel, but we'll cancel if you guys want to cancel too. It's like that friend. It's like, I'm going if you're going. Are you guys going to go? I'd like to go, but I only want to go if you go.
Yeah, I mean, and like Trevor Lawrence said, he's like, hey, we want to play. So, I mean, you got players that are willing, they want to get out there, and then once they start seeing how much money is going to be lost, I mean, it could be like you said earlier, Scott, it could be something to where they'll just have pretty much exhibition games to where, hey, wouldn't it be fun to see Alabama play USC? Or, hey, wouldn't it be fun to see Georgia play Clemson? And it's just streaming only on ESPN exclusive or something like that, to where they can find a way to get some revenue. I mean, who knows at this point, but it's looking like most likely it's all going to be pushed back to spring, and there's not going to be much going on.
Yeah, you even think there'll be a spring season? I mean, obviously we ask you to look into your crystal ball, but
yeah,
I just don't even see that. I mean, just the way that they would have to figure out the logistics of facilities from an athletic department standpoint, having both fall and in theory spring going simultaneously, the conflicts that would be there, unless they just pulled spring sports to push that into the summer, I just don't see that happening. I feel like it's going to be just a complete wash for 2020. And then when you
skip it.
when you think about the financial impact that this is going to have, it's going to be tremendous. I mean, college is notorious for traveling well. It reaches all parts of the country. I mean, in professional football, you have fans, and they typically are around, obviously, large metropolitan cities. But everybody has a stake throughout the country when it comes to college football. At least they can, and then you have like the family members of the players who travel well. And this obviously all, contributes to the towns and cities that these stadiums are in, and the revenue that's gained through that. And then, of course, the bowl games and the travel and the money spent, from the universities and the fans and the people. I mean, this is going to be a massive, massive financial hit.
Yeah, huge ripple effect across so many different industries. Another thing, though, is one of the other demands that some of these players are trying to put out there is that they're demanding like hazard pay as well. So not only are you guys getting scholarships to go play football and go to school for free, but you want to get you want to get paid hazard pay on top of that. But where's all this money coming from? So it's just too much for them to figure out, and I think they're definitely going to try and shut it down. But again, I mean, they're going to need money, and they're going to try and find a way to bring it in somehow. But I mean, you might be right. They might just put everyone on that big train line and just stick one car in front of the other, and like, all right, we're going to do fall sports in the spring and then spring in the summer, and then we're going to try and get us back to normal on tracks next fall. Or we might just skip it altogether. But that's just so much money to lose out on. But I mean, that's the sign of the times right now. There's the rich get richer. These big five conferences, they're going to be feeling the hurt if they don't form any kind of play out there. No bowls, no playoffs, no revenue.
And where's the money all going to come from? Well, we'd like to invite you to join the agenda, to sideline the agenda by subscribing to our videos. Hit the notification bell to be notified when we go live on YouTube. And, of course, comment, like, and all of those good things. And, of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Sideline Agenda. And we are also on Instagram and Parler at Sideline the Agenda. Sideline the Agenda, sports podcast done right. Okay, moving on. Simmering frustrations with the cheating Houston Astros continue to rise to the surface. The Houston Astros lost their fifth game in a row on Sunday, dropping to 6-9 on the season with a 7-2 loss against the Oakland Athletics. Today's benches cleared and even the stands emptied when Oakland's Ramon Laureano got hit by a pitch for the third time in the three-game series. Laureano began exchanging words with Astros hitting coach Alex Citron, who stepped out of the dugout to urge Laureano to bring it on. Tempers flaring at last between the AL West rivals months after Houston's sign-stealing scandal was brought to light by Oakland pitcher Mike Fiers. Arizona Diamondbacks closer Archie Bradley appeared to flip off the Astros after a huge Nick Ahmed home run during Arizona's 14-7 victory last Wednesday night. Even actor and Los Angeles Dodgers fan Rob Lowe piled on when he appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast sporting a cap with a modified Astros logo showing an orange asterisk instead of the star. The Astros are now 5.5 games behind the A's in the American League West, making this the first time since 2016 that they've been that far back this late in the season. Is all this pent-up animosity, guys, is it all towards the Astros? Is it justified, or should everybody just kind of move on? What do you think there?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yes, it is justified, 100%. They cheated the whole year, the World Series. They got the World Series, the championship, from cheating. I just want to point out, though, if you're watching Joe Rogan, you should be watching our podcast as well. Rob Bill is a great guy. Thank you for wearing that hat. Appreciate that. I support that all day. And also, we've been saying this stuff. We've been pointing this stuff out, in previous episodes as well. So please, guys, stay tuned. But also, back to the Astros here. Loriana charged the gentleman who's an idiot, by the way, who stepped out of the dugout to egg him on. This is a coach. He's not even a player, guys. I mean, who's out of line here? Is he going to get suspended? I hope he does. I hope that that maybe he gets suspended a lot longer than 8 games than what they did with Kelly. I mean, I think that this is something that should be hold accountable, those actions, because I mean, Loriano was already mad heading to the first base anyway. He got hit 3 times, guys. 3 times, 1 game. He's already steaming at that point. And then this gentleman comes out and eggs him on. I mean, who's not going to run after him at that point? I mean, take a very cool, calm, and collected human being not to come after him. But I thought it was great though, and when they're playing the Diamondbacks, the gentleman in the bullpen, give him the bird. That's great. I do want to point out when they played the Dodgers a little bit earlier in the season, Carrera, Altuve, and Bregman, I believe, they went 0 for 21 in that series, and I thought it was great. This is just the downfall of the Astros. We're seeing them crumble as we speak, and it's just awesome to watch that this is karma coming back for you.
Yeah, just to clarify, Loriano got hit twice in that game, 3 times during the entire series, but still a second time in 1 game, enough's enough for sure. What do you think about this, Chris? Is this something that the Astros should get used to for the entire season? Is this all justified? A lot of this animosity that is being targeted towards the Astros, or should people lay off a bit?
No, absolutely not. This is totally justified. As I said in one of our Fair or Foul segments, they should be getting chin music every single game, and they're lucky there's no fans out there because they would be hearing it all game, every game. People are really mad about this. I'm one of them. This is ridiculous. The Houston Astros, who do you guys think you are going out there talking your BS, trying to egg people on? And here's a question. So this guy gets hit 3 times in the span of 2 games. How many people got ejected or suspended on those Astros?
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't worry,
yeah,
I'll
exactly.
wait. And Kelly doesn't even hit a guy and gets 8 games. Why are they protecting Houston so much? But they're 5-9 now. 6-9, 5-9. They've got a losing record. They're well below 500. Jose Altuve, the big MVP, the big amazing hitter, the guy that knows what pitch is coming so he can hit it, is not even hitting the Mendoza line. He's below it. He's at like 170 something. So it's just showing you that these guys are frauds. They are not as good of a team as they looked like they were the last few years because they were out there stealing signs. It's a lot easier to play the game of baseball. Like Kevin said, they went 0 for 21 against the Dodgers. It's a lot easier to play the game of baseball if you don't have to think about what pitch possibly could be coming and you know what's coming. So much easier. You just can rely on your timing at that point. But yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of pent-up anger around the league, not only because of the way that they cheated and how they ended up winning the championship that year. Not only cheating the Dodgers, but they cheated the Red Sox. They cheated the Yankees. You know, there's a lot of diehard Yankees fans out there that are very angry about that still. But, I mean, speaking of Yankees and ex-Astros, I don't know if you guys saw this clip a few days back, but Cole, the pitcher, the big-time pitcher on the Yankees, he was just adjusting his cap, and there was some sticky substance on his cap to where when he was adjusting it and he went to lift his hand off, his fingers actually stuck.
I didn't even see that.
To the cap a little bit. So it's like, oh, wow, once a cheating Astro, always a cheating Astro.
It's like it's taught. It's built into the fabric there, apparently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of pent-up anger around the league because not only did they win the title and they cheated, but it's because of the lack of discipline. So their coach got banned for a year. They got fined like $5 million. They got a first round, some second round for a few years, taken away. But the players themselves, Mr. Buzzer Altuve himself, they got 0 suspension. They got immunity. They did not get punished whatsoever because they cooperated. So if you cooperate with us, we're not going to punish you. What? No accountability whatsoever. You're just going to let these guys get away scot-free. That's why these guys are getting flipped off. That's why they should be getting chin music every game. And for them to have the nerve to be over there and try to start fights, especially a coach with opposing players, the team that's beating you, that's in first place now, the place where you guys used to be, but you're not anymore because you're not cheating. I mean, you have no Verlander. Okay, maybe you would have won a game or two because he isn't pitching anymore. But Altuve, you can't even hit 200. Yeah, you're getting exposed. And then did you see the game a couple days ago when he had like 3 or 4 errors in that same game? He's inside of his own head now because he doesn't have that. He's getting exposed as far as his hitting goes. So now he's in his own head to where he can't even field the ball. And I just love it. Like Kevin said, karma is a B. It's coming back for them. And I hope it lasts all year long. I'm sure it will. People will not forget this. And I'm just really mad there's no fans there because I would love to see them out there with their trash cans, beating on their trash cans between every single pitch. And we're seeing it from commentators now. The Yankees guy ripped them because he was talking about how when you're approaching at the plate and the pitch is on the way, you've got to start cheating as far as you got to start your swing because these guys are throwing so fast. But he said, "Oh, you're not cheating like the Astros cheat, though. You're not. You don't know what pitch is coming."
That's right.
And then it was another announcer. I think it was for the A's when Altuve was up mid pitch. He just started going to bzz, bzz, making the buzz sound. So there's a lot of built up anger around the league. The Houston Astros got away with one. They didn't even get their title stripped, which I think they definitely should have got stripped. They shouldn't have given it to the Dodgers, but they should have got stripped. These guys should have got suspended, and that's why a lot of people are still pretty upset about it.
Absolutely. Their record 6-9, 5.5 games back. Kevin, what do you think? Is this exposing the Astros, or is this just a coincidence?
Absolutely. It's exposing them to the fullest. They're not that good anymore. Now that all their cheating signs have been taken away from them, and now that they're getting exposed, and now umpires, the whole league, other teams are looking at them to see what are they doing, and they're pretty much, their back is against the wall. They can't do what they were doing before. So look at the result. It's the bread is the proof is in the pudding here. That's as they say it. So they're exposed.
That's true.
Yeah, and if I could add one more thing, another thing that these players are so upset about as well, not just the fact that they didn't really get punished, but they were not apologetic whatsoever. They were not remorseful. They tried to act like they weren't cheating, that they were good enough, and they won it off their own merit. They said, yeah, we did cheat, but they weren't super apologetic or remorseful about it either. So that's
to be the devil's advocate.
These guys are
to be the devil's advocate. Do you think maybe there's a reason why they weren't so apologetic? Like maybe they know that other teams are up to no good.
Well, I mean, it's in the nature of sport to always try and find an edge, but when you start using technology to really boost that edge, that's when you cross the line. I mean, if you're just over there on the other side of the dugout looking at those guys on the other side, and all of a sudden you start picking up some sequences to where you can start reading their signs, hey, that's on them. They're not being smart enough, but you're not using cameras. You're not using technology. You're not using buzzers. They cross the line. And that's the main difference. It's not out there within the game to where, hey, you got a guy in second base and he can clearly see the catcher. So, hey, catcher, why don't you start using some better signs like, you're doing the head sign, the tapping the shoulders to the knees, and then you give 4 or 5 signals. It's not like you're just sticking a one down, but the guy in second base and he can clearly signal to the guy at home, the batter's box. No, the use of technology that they did and these buzzers, they crossed the line. And that's why these guys are fuming mad. If you're out there within the game and you're able to pick up some things, it's part of the game. You're there on the field. Once you go off the field and you use technology, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, they're not going to apologize because they got a ring. They don't need to apologize. We're champs. I'm champs. This is the result. The risk is worth the reward, as they say. And they did it against the Dodgers. Beat LA in Game 7. So it was in great high fashion. They're not going to apologize for that. They're happy.
Here's Yankees broadcaster John Sterling referring to the cheating Astros.
When you're at bat against a guy like Glasnow or Cole, you have to start your bat. It's called cheating. Not cheating like the Astros, but starting your bat is called Cheat.
Not cheating like the Astros.
love it.
You know, what's funny to me is that you look at precedents, and what really bothers me, and kind of going back to Chris's point, is that these guys have not been punished for participating in cheating the game. And we have certain individuals, say, I don't know, Pete Rose comes to mind, who will never be in the Hall of Fame. Now, he was gambling, and he was a player at the same time, and I understand that that's a conflict of interest. And why is it a conflict of interest? Because you might cheat. You might throw the game. If you cheat against your team, which he said he never did, but if you cheat against bet against your team, which again, he said he never did, but if you bet against your team, then you would cheat. You would throw the game. You would give the other team an unfair advantage by not trying as hard or purposely making mistakes. So how is this any different? I mean, if you're going to cheat to win, it's cheating. And so why are these guys not immediately kicked out of the league? Why are these guys not, having their stats stripped from them, never to ever enter the Hall of Fame, to have an asterisk next to their World Series wins? Why have they not even been held accountable individually for the actions? Is it just because there's not enough evidence? Or is there an agenda behind this that in the wake of the steroid scandals and the perception that a cheating is rampant in Major League Baseball, is this just more or less a cover-up story?
Yeah, I mean, this is totally the MLB trying to save some face, because let's not forget, it wasn't really just the Astros. The Astros won in, is it 2017, 18? 17, I believe. And then the Red Sox. The Red Sox had some shenanigans going on as well with Alex Cora, and he's not in the league this year as well. So that was back-to-back championships that had a dark cloud hanging over their head. And the steroid era is a big black mark on the game of baseball. However, as cheating goes, yeah, you're bigger, stronger, faster, but you don't know what pitch is coming.
That's true.
So, I mean, this form of cheating is way worse to me, than just being on some steroids. Like Barry Bonds, was one of the best hitters of all time. But if he knew what pitch was coming, could you imagine? It's steroids or not. So, I mean, it's just the technology aspect just brought it to a whole nother level. And you're absolutely right. The hammer should fall down so much harder on these guys. And that's what's so frustrating about it. Because you've got Barry Bonds, you've got Roger Clemens, you've got Mark McGwire. I mean, the laundry list of players, Pete Rose, that will never be in the Hall of Fame. And then you've got these guys running around with a freaking MLB championship ring on their hand. You got Altuve with a MVP. It's ridiculous. It's pathetic. They should have been stripped. The hammer should have fallen on them. And you know what? The MLB would have been better off for it. They would have been respected more for it. But their lack of strength in this situation is having the opposite effect of what I think they were intending.
Yeah, it is interesting to see how it seemed to have been swept under the table, especially from, I suppose, a bitter Dodger fan standpoint. But nonetheless, even with the recent ruling and suspension of Kelly, who, like you said before, didn't even hit a guy, and yet he catches 8 games.
Ridiculous.
And it seems like MLB's hiding behind the whole COVID thing. Like, we don't want to encourage guys clearing. Okay, so if that's the case, then I look forward to Citron getting like 10 to 15 games. As a hitting coach, he's got no right stepping out of the dugout. He should know better. The coaches are supposed to know better. It's funny because they're all adults, they're all grown men, but we look at the coaches as the adults in the room, and they're supposed to be the ones that are jumping out of a dugout, literally egging on a player to fight, to instigate an altercation like that. To me, that's like, you should be almost done for the season. If we're this worried about COVID, what are your thoughts with that, Kevin? Like, is this? Of course, we don't know what the ruling's going to be, but let's say that it's not as extreme as Joe Kelly. I mean, what does that mean? What is being said in that moment? If the MLB doesn't follow through?
Yeah, I just want to say that you guys point out great great points. But the MLB needs to do something to this character here. It's uncalled for. He's a coach. He's not even a player. And you're coming out of the dugout, and now you're going to start something with another player who's in the game, who's playing. They need to do something to this guy. If not, ban him or suspend him. But it needs to be longer than the 8 games of what they did with Kelly. Let's stop showing favoritism, guys. I think what they're doing with the Houston Astros, the championship, they don't want to pull it back, because I think that sometimes we do forget that season or that year when they had won, that Houston had that big hurricane that had happened, and I think this is them be like, you know what, I'm gonna get back to this is us giving back to Houston, their community. They needed this championship, and I think MLB's kind of like secretly standing behind that, whether they could obviously don't say that they are or not. We have to understand that was real back then. I remember people, out in the street, and mattresses in the street, and aid, all that, and that was that year that they had won. And I think that they're staying firm with keeping them with the championship. They don't want to strip that from me. But Chris, to your point, Altuve MVP, that needs to be plucked right out of his trophy look. It's got to go. I mean, if you're going to keep Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire from the Hall of Fame, you got to take that MVP away from him. That's the least you could do, MLB.
Definitely. I mean, it's and it should be interesting to see what happens, because, the fact of the matter is if they don't follow through with at least a 10 to 15 game suspension with Citron for sure, man, I don't know. It's going to seem like a huge double standard, and it's going to seem like everything has been created to protect the Astros and has really nothing to do with the coronavirus, but has everything to do with protecting Houston and still pushing against this agenda of that they didn't cheat or that they're being treated too harshly. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to Fair or Foul, the segment in the show where we take on little highlights, news, hot topics in the news. So I'm going to get you guys a quick take here. Here we go. We got Damian Lillard accuses Paul George of running from the grind in war. Let me do that again. Damian Lillard accuses Paul George of running from the grind in war of words after Blazers lost to the Clippers. Chris, I'm going to start with you. Is this fair or foul?
I'm going to say fair for Dame Lillard, but it's just kind of ridiculous that nowadays when you guys got beefs, you take to Twitter, you take to social media. How about you handle it out there on the court? How about you handle it man to man? But Paul George running, I'm going to go fair with that for Dame, because he has stuck in Portland, even though there's been lots of calls for him to try and get to one of these bigger known teams because he's a hell of a player. So I'm going to go fair with Dame Lillard calling out.
You called this a long time ago, Kevin. You said it's just a matter of time in the bubble where people start having real beefs. So what do you think here, Kevin? Is this fair or foul?
Thank you, guys. This is what's going on. We've been saying this, and if you're not tuned to what we're saying, you need to get tuned, because we've been talking about this. We already predicted this was going to happen. It's going to be hot, steamy playoffs over there in the bubble in Florida, and this is just the beginning, guys. Now, I have to point out Paul George and even Beverly on the bench. They're laughing at Damian Lillard. They're not even 6 feet apart. So this is fair. This is fair game. Damian Lillard, good job sticking up for yourself. Let them know how you feel, but also I want to see it more on the court, to Chris's point. So this is fair.
All right, Draymond Green given $50,000 tampering fine for saying Devin Booker needs to get out of Phoenix during the TNT studio show. Chris, is fair or foul?
Completely fair. I mean, you're clearly tampering. You're trying to get the star in Phoenix to jump ship and come where? Where do you think he should come here, Draymond? He should definitely be fined for that. That's against the NBA
Kevin, what do
rules.
you think, fair or foul?
Yeah, absolutely. Draymond Green, you just went a little bit too far. The guy next to you even said you're tampering. You said maybe. You
gotta appreciate the guy's honesty, man. All right, yeah. Sammy Watkins.
Shameless
Watkins okay with less money to win with the Kansas City Chiefs. Going to stick with our resident Kansas City Chiefs fan, Kevin. What do you think here? Fair or foul?
This is fair, guys. Stand up gentleman here. He is now looking at his career as a whole in a bigger perspective. He's going to play better where he's comfortable. He's going to play where he's playing with MVP caliber players that'll take him further into the season, into those games that he wants to highlight. So it makes complete sense. Stay where you're comfortable. Keep producing, Sammy. This is fair.
What do you think here, Chris? Fair or foul? Sammy Watkins taking less money.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Kevin here. I mean, you can go sign a big contract elsewhere, but you might only have a couple years, whereas in Kansas City, you could have a nice long career, keep making that money. This is fair. If you're willing to play for less, that's totally on you. So
sticking with
fair.
the NFL referees who opt out get $30,000 stipend, guaranteed job in 21. What do you think here, Chris? Fair or foul?
I'm going foul on this. This is very similar to the NFL players basically getting paid off to opt out. Now we're getting refs to opt out. You can pay off refs. I mean, it's granted $30,000 isn't exactly a lot of money, but guaranteed job in 2021. It's seeming like they almost want to march out a really bad product for some reason.
It's like job protection. And what do you think here, Kevin? Fair or foul?
Yeah, I'm going to knock this foul here because pretty soon without the rest, we're going to be seeing automated. This is going to be the first AI, artificial intelligence refereeing part of the games. And now we're not going to have refs on the field and everyone's going to be high risk. And we don't know what the heck's going to go from here. I'm going to knock this fair, guys. All you're doing is reffing the game. Get out there.
Well, they might have an influx of college refs that can jump up to the pros if need be. All right, moving on. San Francisco Giants Hunter Pence feels awful spoiling Johnny Cueto's no-hitter. Kevin, what do you think? Fair or foul?
The play itself was foul, but this is fair. You should feel awful. You messed up horribly, and I feel bad for Johnny Cueto. You were completely lost, far off. You should have called someone over rather than look like you were trying to still find it and make the play on it, and you were just so far away. And it sucks for Johnny Cueto. He just messed up his perfect game, but this is fair. You should
get that man a cane. What do you think, Chris? Fair or foul?
Yeah, completely fair. He should definitely feel terrible. I think it was one of those fans out there was distracting him. The piped-in crowd noise. I don't know where the ball is.
One of those cardboard boxes, man. Cardboard boxes.
That's one of those when do you want to go home? That's one of those times.
Southwest.
You want to get away?
You want to get away. That's right. I love it. All right. Well, thank you guys for not getting away and staying here with us. Thank you for watching Sideline the Agenda, the podcast exposing woke sports culture, both on and off the field of play. Be sure to like and subscribe our podcast on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and also follow us on Twitter, Parler, and Instagram. I'm Scott. That's Kevin. That's Chris. And this is Sideline the Agenda, sports podcast done right. See you later.